Okay, this is the Algebra 2 test review for Chapter 5. What is the expression in factored form for number 1? So you have 4x squared minus 5x minus 6. So to factor this, you have 4 times negative 6, which is negative 24. You're going to rewrite it, x squared minus 5x minus 24. Find the factors of negative 24 that add up to give you negative 5. So you have negative 8 times 3, or negative 8 plus 3 gives you negative 5. So it's x minus 8, x plus 3. So now the next step is to divide by 4. So you have x minus 2, and you have 4x plus 3. So the answer to this will be what it says, 4x plus 3 and x minus 2, which is C. The figure below shows a container that is a square prism with a base area B and a hollow section that is a square prism with the base area B. The height of both prisms is the same. Write the expression to represent the volume of the container. Express your answers in completely factored form. So we know it's a square. So the dimensions of the base will be B minus B, because this would be the entire length, which is B, and this is the part that you have to subtract. And since it's a square, then this is also going to be B minus B. To find the entire volume, it's going to be the height times the area of the base. In this case, it's a square base, so it's going to be B minus little b times B minus little b. So your answer is B. What are the solutions of the quadratic equation? So you have 4x squared minus 18x plus 20 equals 0. And you're always looking to see if there's anything that you can factor before we even start. And you notice that all of these are divisible by 2. So you're going to divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. So we have 2x squared minus 9x plus 10 is equal to 0. Now, what I'm going to do is, sometimes factoring can be kind of difficult, so I'm going to use a quadratic formula. So we have x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac divided by 2 times a. So you have x equals 9 plus or minus square root. Of course, this is a discriminant. Negative 9 squared minus 4 times 2 times 10 divided by 2 times 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate the discriminant. So you can go to your calculator, parentheses, negative 9 squared minus 4 times 2 times 10, you get 1. So this is going to be x equals 9 plus or minus square root of 1 over 4. And we know that the square root of 1 is 1, so your first answer is 9 plus 1 divided by 4, which is 10 over 4, which both of these are divisible by 2, so it's 5 over 2. And the other one is 9 minus 1. 9 minus 1 over 4. 9 minus 1 is 8 divided by 4, it's 2. So your answer is 2 and 5 over 2, which in this case we have 2 answers. On the test it won't be like that, so I'm just going to select D. Now if you want to check your answer, all you would have to do is substitute. So you have 4 parentheses 2 squared minus 18 times 2 plus 20. And you get 0. Okay. The next one is 5 over 2. So it's going to be 2 times parentheses 5 divided by 2 squared minus 9 times parentheses 5 divided by 2 plus 10, right? No. Yeah, well, yeah, I'm going to use plus 10. And I still get 0. So your answer is D. For problems 5 through 7, solve by graphing. So go to on, new, wrong one. On, graphing, new graphing. So a new graphing pad here. So we have x squared minus 9x plus 20. Press enter. It appears that there might be 2 answers, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out C. I'm going to mark out D. And definitely I'm going to mark out A. So to find your answers, you just have to go to Menu, Analyze Graph, find the zeros. So the first 0 is 5. Oh. The second 0 is 4, 0. So your answer is B. So let's go ahead and go to our graphing function. We'll double click on it. So now we're solving x squared plus 2x, correct? (2x) and then it's minus 8, right? And what you want to do is you want to eliminate answers. So obviously the answer is not going to be answer A and answer B. You know why? Because it opens downward. So it's between C and D. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the intersection, or the zeros. So the first 0 is 2, 0, which we have there, 2, 0. So we have 2, so this one is 2, and the other one should be negative 4. So let's see. 0 and is negative 4. So his answer is C. And D was incorrect. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and solve this by graphing. We're going to eliminate B since it's opening downwards. And we can also eliminate D since the y-intercept is different. And so it appears to be A, but let's go ahead and find the intersections, or the zeros. It's negative 2 and negative 2/3. So we go to Menu, Analyze Graph, zeros. So one of them is negative 0.6666, which is negative 2/3. And then the other one is negative 2, 0. So your answer should be A. In order for me to solve this equation, it needs to be in standard form. So I have x squared minus 6x, and that 4 I got to subtract from 9. So it's plus 5 equals 0. So you can solve this by factoring, or you can use your quadratic equation formula, or I'm going to use graphing. So I have x squared minus 6x, right? Plus 5. Enter. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the menu, analyze a graph, and find the zeros. And so the first 0 is 5, 0, so it's 5. The second 0 occurs at 1. So your answer is either x equal 1 or x equal 5. So in this case, it's going to be answer B. I'm going to solve this by completing the square, because it says solve by completing the square. So I have x squared plus 4x plus 2 equals 0. You're going to get 4 divided by 2 and then squared. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 squared is 4. So I have x squared plus 4x plus 4 plus 2 equals 4. 0 plus 4 is 4. Now you have x plus 2 times x plus 2 equals 4. What we did here is we factored x squared plus 4x plus 4. The factors of 4 are 2 and 2, so it's 2 times 2. So you're going to have x plus 2 to the second power, and you subtract 2 from that, so it's 2. What you do next is you get the square root of both sides. So it's x plus 2 equals plus or minus square root of 2. So you notice at this point you can eliminate c and you can eliminate d. And you can also eliminate b. So you're going to subtract 2 from both sides, and then your answer will be negative 2 plus or minus square root of 2. X equals negative 2 plus or minus square root of 2. Number 10, I'm going to have to write it in standard form in order for me to use a quadratic formula. X squared plus 5x plus 3 equals 0. I have to identify A, which is 1, identify B, which is 5, and identify C, which is 3. The formula is negative B plus or minus square root b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2a. The next step is to substitute. So you have negative 5 plus or minus square root. So it's 5 squared minus 4 times a, in this case it's 1, times c is 3, divided by 2 times a, which is 2. Go ahead and evaluate the discriminant. Remember, the discriminant is what's inside the radical. So it's 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times 3. So you get 13. So that means there's two real solutions divided by 2. Of course, you can't see the answer there, but I think the answer will be either C or D. I don't know the answer, but that's it. A landscaper is designing a flowered garden in the shape of a trapezoid. She wants the shorter base to be 3 yards greater than the height. and the longer base to be 7 yards greater than the height. She wants the area to be 155. The situation is modeled by the equation. So we have h squared plus 5h, and I know that it has to be in standard form for me to find the appropriate height, or the appropriate, is it height? Yeah, the appropriate height. It says use a quadratic formula to find the height that will give the desired area. And it says round to the nearest hundredth. I know that a is equal to 1. I know b is equal to 5, and I know c is equal to negative 155. So we have x is equal to negative 5 plus or minus square root. And then we have parentheses 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 155 divided by 2 times 1. So I have negative 5 plus or minus square root, whatever we get from there. So we're going to go ahead and identify or evaluate the discriminant. 5 squared minus 4 times negative 1 times negative 155. And I made a mistake with the parentheses. Negative 155. Enter. And I did something wrong. Let me do it again. Parentheses 5 squared minus 4 parentheses 1. Oh, I put a negative 1. That was my mistake. And then negative 155. 645. So let's see what the first amount will be. So it's negative 5 plus control x squared. So it's going to be 645. Enter. And then divide by 2. So that's 10.19. Okay. Now let's try the other one, which we're not, because it's going to be a negative height. So it said to round to the nearest hundredth of a yard. So it's 10.1984, so it's 10.2. So your answer is B. It has to be 10.2 yards. What is the number of real solutions? So you have to write this in standard form. So you have negative 10x squared plus 10x minus 7 equals 0. The discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So it's negative, it's 10 squared minus 4 times a times c, right? So we have okay, I did make a mistake, so I'm going to wait here a minute. So it's going to be 10, 7. So let's use the calculator. 10 squared minus 4 times negative 10 times negative 7. So we're not going to have real solutions, so it's going to be C. Number 13, we want to find the number of real solutions, so we have to write it in standard form. 4x squared plus 8x plus 4. We have b squared minus 4 times a times c. In this case, b is going to be 8 squared minus 4 times 4 and times c, which is 4. So we have 8 squared minus 4 times 4 times 4, and that gives us 0. So when it does equal 0, it's only going to be one answer, one solution. Number 14, we have negative 2 minus 2i plus 1 minus 2i. Remember, we have to distribute the negative. So we're going to add the reals, which is negative 1. Negative 2i minus 2i gives you negative 4i. So your answer is D. 15, 6i times 2i. 6i times 2i is going to be 12. And then I times I is I squared. So it's 12 times negative 1, which gives you negative 12. So your answer is A. 17, solve the equation algebraically. Remember, you have to factor if you can. So you have 2x that you can factor, and you have x minus 4 is less than 0. You're going to find your test points. So it's 10x equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0. Divide by 2, so x equals 0, x equals 4. And so those are our test points, and we know that when x is 0, it's going to be 0. And when x is 4, it's going to be 0. And if that's the case, it's not going to be less than 0. It's going to be equal. So now, just like I did in class, I'm going to check the numbers to the left of 0 by using just one negative. So I have 2 parentheses negative 1 squared minus 8 times negative 1. And if it's less than 0, then I'm good. It is not. So we know that this is going to be false, or it's not part of the answer. So now I'm going to check numbers that are to the right of 4. In this case, it's 5. So I have a 2 parentheses 5 squared minus 8 times 5, and that's also false. So a number between 0 and 4, let's check 1. So we have 2 times 1 square, correct, square, minus 8 times 1. And that is less than 0. So the answer is going to be all the numbers between 0 and 4. So in this case, x is going to be between, or any number that's in between 0 and 4. So it's less than 4, and it also has to be greater than 0. So in this case, it's going to be A. I know it says to use the table. We're going to use it, but I'm going to show you how we're going to use it. We have x squared minus 8x plus 12 is greater than 0. And it's telling us to use the data to solve the inequality. What I'm going to do is we're going to go through the process. We're going to factor. The factors of 12 are 6 and 2. And they have to both be negative since we get negative 8. So we have x minus 6. And we have x minus 2 is greater than 0. We're going to get our test points. So we have x minus 6 equals 0. X minus 2 equals 0. So x equals 6. X equals 2. Those are our test points. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my inequality, or my number line up here. And I have 6. I have 2. And I have 6. Now, if I look at 2, when x is 2, y is 0. We want it greater, so this will have to be open circle. So you see how we're using the table? If we check 6, when x is 6, y is 0. Okay, it has to be greater than 0, so it's going to be open circle. Now we are going to check the numbers that are to the left of 2 or less than. And I'm going to use a different color so you can notice the difference. So we have when x is 1, y is 5. Is that greater than 0? When x is 0, y is 12. Is that greater than 0? And the answer is yes. So the answer definitely will be all the numbers that are less than 2. What about the numbers that are greater than 6? Why don't we try 7? So when it's 7, isn't y 12? Isn't that greater than 0? Yes. So it's going to be also all the numbers that are greater than 6. What about the numbers that are in between? And I'm going to use pink to show you the numbers that are in between. So you notice when x is 3, y is negative 3. That isn't larger than 0. So this is going to be false. This is false. This is false. This is true. This is true. This is true. Of course, this is false, and this is false. So anything that is larger than 6 or anything that is smaller than 2, in this case, it's not going to be the equals, because remember that we had 2 and 6 were not equal, and then of course 3 and 5 is not going to be that. And it will not be D, so your answer is C.